Hello students. Today's topic is ideal and non-ideal solutions. Ideal and non-ideal solutions are the classification of liquid solutions on the basis of Ross law. Then what is the meaning of ideal? Ideal is nothing but somewhat perfect, right? In order to define the term perfect or perfection, we have to define some rules or some assumptions. On the basis of that rules, assumptions or laws, then we can say something is perfect or something is ideal. Here, in case of solutions, Rawls law is the basis for the classification of solutions into ideal and non-ideal solutions. Then it is better to revise Rawls law once. Rawls law that will give quantitative relation between vapor pressure and mole fraction of the component in a solution. That means if you take a solution of two volatile liquids, then what is the partial vapor pressure of the particular component in the solution and what is its mole fraction? That will give quantitative relation between partial vapor pressure of the component with its mole fraction. So, just consider a volatile solution that is made up of two components A and B. Okay. Consider a solution of two components A and B. Very important condition is both A and B are volatile. Then, according to Rawls law, in a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of the liquids, that is partial vapor pressure of each component, is directly proportional to its mole fraction. So, now let PA, that will be partial vapor pressure of the component A, that is directly proportional to its mole fraction in the solution. Then we can write PA directly proportional to Xi A, where PA is nothing but partial vapor pressure of the component A. Xi A is the mole fraction of the component A in the solution. Similarly, for the component B, we can write PB directly proportional to Xi B, where PB is the partial vapor pressure of the component B, Xi B is the mole fraction of the component B. Then, in this expression, we can remove this proportionality sign. Then we can add a constant, that is PA equal to PA naught into Xi. Here PA naught is a proportionality constant. It is referred as vapor pressure of the pure component. Similarly, we can write this expression as PB, that is equal to PB naught into Xi B, where PB naught is the vapor pressure of the pure component B. That means suppose that AB water and B ethanol, okay. These are the two volatile components. You are mixing that two volatile components, they will form solution. Then your PA naught, that is PA naught is nothing but a vapor pressure of pure water. You are not mixing water with ethanol. You are separately taking water. At constant temperature, you are measuring its vapor pressure. That is referred as PA naught. Clear? Similarly, PB naught is nothing but vapor pressure of pure ethanol. Before mixing, what is the vapor pressure? At constant temperature, that is referred as PB naught. These are two constant values. Okay? At constant temperature, these liquids have constant vapor pressure. Okay, so In this expression, we are writing PA equal to PA naught into xi A, PB equal to PB naught into xi B, where PA is partial vapor pressure of the component A in the solution, PA naught is the vapor pressure of the pure component A, xi A is the mole fraction of the component A in the solution. Similarly, PB is partial vapor pressure of the component B, PB naught is vapor pressure of the pure component B, xi B is the mole fraction of the component B in the solution. Then, what is the vapor pressure of the solution? Okay, these are the partial vapor pressure of the solution. Then what is the total vapor pressure of the solution? Simply we can write total vapor pressure or vapor pressure of the solution. P total, that is equal to PA plus PB. That is equal to PA plus PB. Total vapor pressure is equal to sum of the partial vapor pressures of the component. We can write that is equal to P total equal to PA is nothing but PA naught into xi A, PA naught into xi A plus PB is PB naught into xi B, PB naught into xi B. This is the expression for the vapor pressure of the solution. That solution made up of two volatile liquids. Okay. Yes. Generally, we can summarize this expression as, that is in terms of definition, in a solution of volatile liquids. Clear? We are preparing a solution by mixing two volatile liquids. In that solution, vapor pressure, partial vapor pressure of each component is directly proportional to S mole fraction in the solution. So, that's the definition. In a solution of volatile liquids, in a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure, of each component, partial vapor pressure of each component is directly proportional to S mole fraction, in the solution. So, clearly we can relate vapor pressure of the components to the mole fraction of the components in the solution. Okay. So, there is the importance of Ross law. Then, on the basis of Ross law, here law is, that is, in order to define the term perfect, here the basis is Ross law. On the basis of Ross law, we are classifying liquid solutions into two types. That is, one is ideal, that means that obeys Ross law. One is non-ideal, that does not obey Ross law. Okay. Next topic, that is ideal solutions. Okay. If you take liquid solution, then the basis for the classification is Ross law. One is ideal, that means somewhat perfect. One more is non-ideal. Then what is ideal actually? That should obey Ross law, right? Basis for the classification is Ross law. then one solution, one type of solution that obeys Ross law, that is referred as ideal. So we can write definition as the solutions which obeys Ross law at all concentrations. At all concentrations are called ideal solution. Very important point, that is the last sentence, at all concentrations. That means either you can take a very dilute solution or you can take a highly concentrated solution. At all concentrations that should obey Ross law, that is P total equal to Pa plus Pb, or Pa is directly proportional to Xi A, Pb is directly proportional to Xi B. Then only that solutions are referred as ideal. At all concentrations, either highly diluted one or highly concentrated solution, it should obey Ross law. Then only that is referred as ideal solutions. Only few if you mix components, they will form ideal solutions. We can take example as benzene and toluene. Mixture of benzene and toluene. If you mix benzene with toluene, that will form ideal solution because almost all concentration that will obey Ross law. Okay, then we can take one more example, that is N-hexane. Mixture of N-hexane and N-heptane. This one also example for ideal solution. Okay, then I said only few. Okay, if you mix only few components, they will form ideal solution. Not all the solutions are ideal. Okay, then in order to form ideal solutions, that components or that solution, before mixing, that components should follow some conditions, or after mixing, that solution should follow some conditions. Okay, then we'll discuss what are the conditions for the ideal solution. Okay, conditions for ideal solution. Conditions for ideal solution. Very important condition, that is the definition of ideal solution. They should obey Ross law. First condition, they should obey Ross law. Then only that solutions are referred as ideal solutions. Then second condition, that is you're explaining what type of components will form ideal solution. Simply if you mix one component with another component, that will not form ideal solutions. That components should have some similarities. Okay, that similarities, that is first one, components should have suppose if you are mixing component A with component B, or you are mixing benzene with toluene, then between benzene and toluene there should be some similarities. Okay, that similarities are, first one, they should have identical molecular size. Okay, this is the first condition, that mixing components should have identical molecular size. Second condition is that mixing component, they should have identical molecular structure. And very important point is that components should have identical intermolecular forces. Okay, identical intermolecular forces. then only if you mix that components, they will form ideal solutions. Okay, this is the main important or three important conditions for the components in order to form ideal solutions. That you are mixing component A with component B, then that both components should have identical molecular size, identical molecular structure, and identical intermolecular forces. Then only they will form ideal solutions. Okay. Next point. After mixing A with the B, you are mixing two components. Then we can observe some characteristic for the ideal solution, right? Then we can mention it as either characteristic of the ideal solution or conditions. Okay. There's a third point. You are mixing component A with the component B. Then, while mixing that one, volume change on mixing is equal to 0. Then only that is the ideal solution. You are mixing component A with component B. Then while mixing, you have to check the volume change. What is the initial volume? What is the final volume? Then if the volume change is equal to 0, then that is the ideal solution. Just take, you are mixing component A with the component B. Okay. Here you are taking 10 ml of component A, then you are mixing that with the 10 ml of component B. So what is the initial volume total? 20 ml, right? Before mixing, we have 20 ml of components. Then after mixing, that will form AB, that is a solution. Okay, you are mixing 10 ml, 10 ml. It is found that final volume is also equal to 20 ml. Before mixing, you are taking 10 ml of A, 10 ml of B, then you are mixing that one. So initial volume is 20 ml. You are taking 20 ml of the components. And after mixing, it is found that the final volume of the solution is equal to 20 ml. Then we can calculate delta V mix, that is volume change on mixing. Volume change on mixing, that is equal to V final minus V initial. What is the final volume? That is volume of the solution minus volume of the components, right? That is equal to 20 minus 20, that is equal to 0. Then only that will form ideal solution. If you are mixing component A with B, then you are measuring what is the initial volume, what is the final volume. Then if the volume change, what is the volume before mixing, what is the volume after mixing, that difference should be equal to 0. Then only that is the ideal solution. Okay. We can write here delta V, that is volume change on mixing, is equal to 0. Volume change on mixing equal to 0. Next point, heat change on mixing is equal to 0. Heat change on mixing is equal to 0. What is the meaning of heat change? You can write delta H mixing is equal to 0. Nothing but enthalpy change, right? Enthalpy change during mixing is equal to 0. Next important point, that is about intermolecular force of attraction between the molecules. Okay, that is the force of attraction, between solute solvent molecules, solute solvent molecules will be same that of solute and solvent molecules. That will discuss what is the magnitude of force of attraction before mixing and after mixing. Just take, you are mixing two components, it is A and B. What is this actually? A means what? Molecules of component A. You are not taking single A, you are not taking single one molecule, you are taking the complete that component A, that we have large number of molecules. Then between molecules we have some force of and attraction between that molecules. Okay, here also between molecules of B we have some force of attraction. Then after mixing, that will form solution AB. This case, take force of attraction between the molecules of the components, let it be F1, because almost both force of attraction is similar. We already discussed that in the condition of the ideal solution F1. Then after forming solution, that force of attraction is equal to F2. In case of ideal solution, this F1 is equal to F2. Okay. Between solid to solid, just take it as a solvent. This one is solute. Force of attraction between solid to solid, solvent to solvent molecules is same that of solvent solid. Okay, so we can write F1 is equal to F2. The force of attraction between solid to solvent molecules will be same that of solid and solvent molecules. Okay, before non-ideal solutions. If you know about ideal solutions, then clearly we can define the term non-ideal solution. Ideal means that will obey Ross law. Then non-ideal means solutions which not obey Ross law. At all concentrations. Solutions which do not obey Ross law at all concentrations are called non-ideal solution. Very important point is, if you take very dilute solutions, every solution or liquids they will tend to attain ideality. But at higher concentrations we have problems. Okay, they will deviate from ideal behavior. Okay, so you have to mention the point at all concentration. Otherwise that is somewhat wrong. Okay, because all liquids will tend to obey ideality at lower concentration, or in their very dilute state they will tend to obey ideality, but a problem with the higher concentrations. Okay, so while defining non-ideal solutions or ideal solutions, you have to mention concentration range. Okay, so non-ideal solutions are solutions which do not obey Ross law at all concentrations. Okay, generally most of the solutions are non-ideal. Okay, you can take example of ethanol and water. Then you can take example of water with HCl, water and HCl. These all are non-ideal solutions because they will not obey Ross law at all concentrations. That means they will deviate from Ross law. Okay, that means suppose take two components A and B. You are mixing component A with component B. Then according to Ross law, PA is directly or equal to PA naught into Xi A, PB equal to PB naught into Xi B. Then ideal solution. But in case of non-ideal solution, PA is not equal to PA naught into Xi A. PB is not equal to PB naught into Xi B. So, they will deviate from Ross law, then they are referred as non-ideal solutions. Then we will discuss characteristics of the non-ideal solutions. What are the characteristics of non-ideal solutions? Characteristics of non-ideal solutions. Yes, what are the characteristics of non-ideal solution? First one is definition itself, right? Does not obey Ross law. They does not obey Ross law. They does not obey Ross law at all concentrations. Second point is, that's about volume change, right? Volume change on mixing, volume change on mixing is not equal to 0. It's somewhat interesting point. Volume change on mixing is not equal to 0. Just take you're mixing 10 ml of A with 10 ml of component B. What is the initial volume? 20 ml, right? 10 ml of water, 10 ml of ethanol. So you are taking 20 ml of both component A and B. Then after mixing, actually what is the volume? 10 plus 20, simple mathematics, right? 10 plus 10 equal to 20. But in case of non-ideal solutions, either that is greater than 20 ml, either the final volume, that is volume of the solution is greater than 20 ml, or final volume will be less than 20 ml. Less than 20 ml. Clear? Then we can observe either volume change is positive or volume change is negative, or that is not equal to 0. Clear? Volume change on mixing is not equal to 0. If you mix 10 ml with the 10 ml, then you are taking 20 ml of the component, then the final volume is not equal to 20 ml. Either that is greater than 20 ml or less than 20 ml. So, if you take, then we are getting delta V mix is not equal to 0. Okay? Not equal to 0. So, if you simply take one example, you are taking 20 ml of component, that is 10 plus 10, 10 ml of A, 10 ml of B. You are mixing 10 ml of A with 10 ml of B. You are getting final volume as 21 ml. This is not a theoretical calculations. Okay, 10 plus 10 equal 20. Experimentally, you have to find the value of the solution. So, here you have to take 10, here you have to take 10. Then simply you are not calculating that is equal to 20. You have to measure what is the final volume. Then you are getting 20 ml. Then delta V equal to V final minus initial. 21 minus 20, that is equal to 1 ml. That is not equal to 0. Clear? That is simple assumption now. Okay. Remember this point. Delta V mix is not equal to 0. If you mix now components of non-ideal solutions, their volume change on mixing is not equal to 0. Either that is greater than 0 or that is less than 0. Take next point. Heat change on mixing. Heat change on mixing is not equal to 0. Is not equal to 0. It is delta H. Delta H means what? Heat change on mixing is not equal to 0. heat change on mixing is not equal to 0. That means if you mix component A with component B, either heat is absorbed or heat is evolved during that process. Clear? Next point, that is about forces of attractions between molecules of the component before mixing and after mixing. In case of non-ideal solutions, the forces of attractions between solute and solvent molecule will be greater or lesser than that of solute and solvent molecules. Okay, that is in case of non-ideal solution, the forces of attraction between solute-solvent molecules will be greater or lesser than that of solute-solute and solvent molecules. Clearly says before mixing and after mixing, the magnitude of forces of attraction is different. Before mixing, in between molecules of component, we have one type of interactions. Then if you mix that components, they will form solution. In the solution, the magnitude of force of attraction is totally different. Okay. Yes. Consider a wallet solution is made up of two components, A and B. Okay. Before mixing, between the molecules of component A, we have some forces of attraction. Then between molecules of component B, we have some force of attraction. Okay. Just take that is initial forces of attraction. Then once if you mix up, then after mixing that two components, they will form solution. After mixing, between molecules of two components, that's between A and B, okay, there will be new force of attraction is established. Okay, consider it as a final forces of attraction. This is nothing but a force of attraction between molecules of component before mixing. This one is nothing but forces of attraction between molecules of component after mixing. Okay, here between components, okay, A and A, one type of force of attraction, B and B, another type of force of attraction. Then if you mix A and B, they will form solution, that is AB. In this case, we have one new type of forces of attraction. In case of non-ideal solution, okay, this F initial is not equal to F final. F initial is not equal to F final. That means either initial force of attraction, that is F initial, is greater than final force of attraction, or F initial is smaller than F final. So that is about forces of attraction between molecules of component in case of non-ideal solutions. Okay, before mixing they have one type of force of attraction. After mixing they will establish new type of force of attraction. Okay, yes. Next point, that is the differences between ideal and non-ideal solutions. Okay, that is nothing but summary of the characteristics of both ideal and non-ideal solution. Okay, in case of ideal solutions, they obey Rawls law. In case of non-ideal solutions, they do not obey Rawls law. Then if you take a volume of mixing, that is volume change on mixing is 0 in case of ideal solutions. In case of non-ideal solutions, volume change on mixing is not equal to 0. Next, third point is heat change on mixing is 0 in case of ideal solutions. In case of non-ideal solutions, heat change on mixing is not equal to 0. That is delta H mix is not equal to 0. Next, in case of ideal solution, that is fourth point, forces of attraction between solid to solvent molecules same as that of solid to solute and solvent to solvent molecules. Then in case of non-ideal solutions, the forces of attraction between solvent solute molecules will be greater or lesser than that of solute solute and solvent solvent molecules. Okay.